Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
The Ireland Palestine Solidarity Campaign recently released a press release on behalf of Jews for Palestine Ireland, calling on the Football Association of Ireland to boycott the upcoming matches against Israel. I'm joined now by the chair of the Ireland Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Zoe Lawlor. Good morning to you, Zoe.
Good morning.
And thanks very much indeed for coming on with us today. First of all, will you tell us about the Jews for Palestine group?
Yeah, sure. They're our colleagues and our allies. They're a group of Jewish people in Ireland who are part of the movement in solidarity with the Palestinian people.
And your own solidarity campaign then, again, will you just give us a little bit of background there?
Yeah, sure. So we're an all-Ireland organisation. We've more than 34 branches around the country, and we organise, solidarity events, demonstrations, film screenings, talks. We've a speaking tour on at the moment with a Palestinian from a citizen of Israel, speaking about what's going on with Palestinians there. And we obviously organise big demonstrations as well. We had a huge one in Dublin on Saturday, at which actually we had a speaker, Jacob Wolf, from Jews for Palestine Ireland.
So tell us about your thoughts, and when I say you, the campaign and Jews for Palestine Ireland as well. Tell us about your thoughts on the games and what do you think should happen then?
Yeah, well, we support the Palestinian call for a sporting, cultural, academic and consumer boycott of Israel. And like we've been calling for this for years, Israel played in Ireland in 2005 in a World Cup qualifier, and we had a big demonstration at Lansdowne Road, as it was then. So obviously we think the FAI should, to start with, UEFA should expel Israel. And it's a shame on UEFA and FIFA that they have put national sporting governing bodies in the position that they have by not fulfilling their own or living up to their own statutes and rules and expelling Israel, but failing that they haven't. We would want the FAI and the Irish team not to play these fixtures, not to fulfil them.
It's interesting, Zoe, that last year the FAI voted to submit a motion to UEFA to ban Israel from European competitions, but still they're going ahead with these games. Yeah,
I guess that they are saying that they brought the motion to UEFA, and it was like a majority, over 93%, I think, of members of the FAI Congress supported the motion. They brought that to UEFA, and I suppose they're saying now it's in the hands of UEFA. But we would say that because UEFA is failing, to uphold its own rules, then the FAI is also under no obligation to follow rules, when UEFA won't uphold its own ones. So maybe they could have another EGM. I don't know how their structures work, but it's clear from that vote that that's representative of football in Ireland, and they want Israel expelled from UEFA.
There's precedent here, of course, and I suppose Russia being banned from both the FIFA World Cup and the Olympics as well, and certainly where South Africa was concerned too. So there is precedent.
Absolutely there is. And there's precedent in Ireland. Ireland was the first country to boycott South African apartheid. And, we're all very proud of that. We look back and we talk about the Dunstores strikers. They're seen as heroes in Ireland.
And the women from Dunstores particularly,
Absolutely, yeah. Especially, Mary Manning, Karen Gearan are all friends of ours. They've spoken at our demonstrations, and they're all great people. Now, they had a difficult time at the time, and, obviously they're lauded now. But we led the way then, and I don't see why we couldn't lead the way again, and set a great example for people in Ireland that is reflective of the will of the majority of people here who do support sanctions on Israel for its genocidal crimes against Palestinians.
Well, we stood up, I suppose, where Eurovision is concerned, for example.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm involved in that because I do the cultural and sporting work for IPSC, so I have been involved in the Eurovision campaign since 2019 when it was in Israel, and, it was absolutely fantastic to see RTE finally deciding not to participate in Eurovision. And people are very proud of that. And it is something to be proud of. And it would be amazing to see the FAI follow suit and, leave this legacy of doing the right thing and standing up for what's right. And, Israel is in breach of UEFA and FIFA rules by having teams in illegal Israeli settlements. And the International Court of Justice has said that these settlements and the apartheid system must be dismantled, and there's an obligation on states, organisations, corporations, etc., not to do anything to aid these illegal settlements, which are, causing ethnic cleansing and extreme oppression of Palestinians. So, there's an obligation also on organisations such as sporting bodies to not assist in the displacement of Palestinians.
Can I put the alternative to you, Zoe, that Israeli players and the national team represent their country in sport, not the policies of their government, and by playing the upcoming games, the FAI could reinforce a principle that sport, could transcend politics, I suppose, and create talk and dialogue and maintain fairness to the athletes as well. I guess that would be the argument that would be put to you. What would you say to that?
Well, I don't believe that sport transcends politics. I mean, we saw Gianni Infantino at, the sham Trump Board of Peace colonisation plan for Gaza last week. So the notion that sport and politics don't mix, or that sport can rise above it, I don't think is real. We don't operate in silos. Sport is part of our lives. Politics are part of our lives. Everything is political. The Israeli national team represents the Israeli state. That state is currently under investigation for genocide. Its prime minister is wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes. They have murdered at least 100,000 Palestinians in Gaza. They are stealing more and more of the West Bank every day. They have incarcerated thousands of people, and they have murdered at least 1,000 Palestinian athletes just since October 2023, including more than 400 football players. So, building bridges with the Israeli state through sport or culture is not a non-runner. They literally do not care what people say or think about them until there's some kind of sanction. And the reason that we're at this horror state now for Palestinians is because Israel has operated with impunity, and in every stage since it's begun its crimes against Palestinians, and especially throughout this genocide, we have seen no sanctions on them at all. So this would be some way of putting a sanction and saying, no, you don't get to sports wash your crimes and behave as if you're a normal state on the world stage. We won't accept that, and we won't participate in that.
I was looking at some of your own background. You've been supporting Palestine and Palestinians for a long time at this point, Zoe.
Absolutely, and I was in Gaza a few years ago. I was lucky enough to go there, and it was a beautiful, lovely place, full of warmth and fun and culture. And we met a football academy, Al Hilal, while we were there, and then we brought children from their youth academy to Ireland in 2016 and 2017, and they played football all around the country against young kids in Ireland, and they went to League of Ireland games. They met the president on both occasions, and one of the 10 of their players, of their children, have been murdered in this genocide. And one of the kids who came to Ireland, Mohammed Khalifa, he was 20 when he was killed, but I knew him as a teen. He was in Ireland, and he was killed with 7 members of his family. So it's very real. This is not abstract. These are real people, with real lives. I guess once you've been to Palestine and seen what goes on there and what's being done to the people, you kind of have to do something about it, to act on your conscience and try to do everything you can to.
And I'd love to know, because you saw what's happening on the ground there. There are those who would, argue that support for Palestinian rights equates to a tacit sort of endorsement of Hamas. In other words, given how that group is so deeply rooted in Palestinian society. What do you say when that point is made, Zoe?
Well, I don't think it's a serious argument, honestly. When people are oppressed, people of conscience want to stand with them. We went to Palestine as a civil society group. I went with a group of friends, and then we formed into Gaza Action Ireland. I also visited the West Bank myself when I was allowed twice and saw what's going on there. I had no interaction with any political factions or any organisations like that. I just met people, civil society groups, rights groups. So I don't think that's a serious argument, to be honest.
Because we often discuss it here on the programme, I'd love your opinion of America and what America is or is not doing, in fact, where Israel is concerned, because they have the, if you forgive me saying so, the trump card to a large extent, haven't they?
Absolutely. I mean, the US has funded, armed, enabled and given political cover for this genocide and for all Israel's decades of crimes against Palestinians. They're the biggest recipient of US aid. Multiple, I don't know how much weaponry has been given to Israel. And again, a lot of our complicity comes through the use of Shannon Airport by the US military. And now we have this Board of Peace, which is just a dystopian nightmare. I can't even get my head around how horrendous it is what they're planning for the Palestinians in Gaza, and it really cannot be allowed. So, the US is an active partner in genocide, I would say.
What do you think is going to happen where the games are concerned? What's your instinct on this?
I hope that the FAI will stand up and not play. They may well play, and the games will be held, and we will campaign hard against that. And if there's a match in Ireland, we would obviously protest outside that and campaign around it. I don't think that the matches will be played outside of so-called neutral venues, to be honest, if they go ahead. But I really hope that we don't get to that point. I really hope that the FAI decides, to do the right thing and not to play.
Yeah, and the Irish government stance on this, I know it was argued in the Dáil Chamber as well. What are you making of that? Do you think they should take a more hardline stance on it?
Absolutely. Well, they said that the RTE boycott of the Eurovision was the right thing to do, so I don't see how this is different. And, with the Irish government, they're always telling us how much they're doing for Palestine, but to be honest, there's nothing concrete. We're still waiting after over 8 years for the Occupied Territories Bill, which is the bare minimum we should be doing to uphold our obligations under international law. So I think the government should come out and say we would support the FAI. They can't tell them what to do, but we would support the FAI if they decided not to play these games. And that might make the situation easier for the FAI to make that decision, knowing the support was there.
And it's very interesting what the Jews for Palestine are saying. They're saying that critique of Israel is not anti-Semitism, and it's very, very important to make that point, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, I see it all the time. So this group, Jews for Palestine Ireland, their voice is not really heard very often in our mainstream media. And
why is that,
millions
Zoe?
of Jewish people. I don't know. I really don't. There are millions of Jewish people all over the world in this movement, and there's, I've often heard people say they find it offensive to think that they would support genocide just by virtue of the fact that they're Jewish.
Yeah.
That's deeply offensive. So I don't know why. I think it's a real shame that, we often see, our colleagues wanting to get op-eds into the papers saying, we're part of this movement, we stand with Palestinians. They really find it difficult to get their voices heard.
And to people listening this morning who might feel very strongly about this, what advice would you give them, Zoe?
Well, join a local solidarity group, support Palestine, keep lobbying our government, to make sure that they enact the Occupied Territories Bill and all the other legislation that they have and put sanctions on Israel. Keep speaking out for Palestine, especially now in this supposed ceasefire, which isn't real. But, it's very much gone off the news, even though people are being killed every day in Gaza and children are dying because they can't get medical treatment. Uphold Palestinian culture and just do everything you can to stand against apartheid and oppression.
Good to talk to you today. Interesting conversation. Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning
Take
to you.
care. Bye-bye.
That is Zoe Lawlor there, who's chair of the Ireland Palestine Solidarity Campaign. How do you feel about that? 1800 938 007. James in New Inn says, are lobbyists going to try to stop every event that any country involved in war are involved in? Keep politics out of sports, says James to us today. Somebody else saying, I'm all for the Palestinian people having their land, but Hamas is a major factor for me, and these people are Muslims and they treat women and girls in an appalling fashion. And what is being said and done about this? We must also stand with the Jewish people against Zionist zealots, it says here. Going back to my conversation with Jim Ryan. Jim is a member of Dúras Éile Memorial Committee, who have been promoting Semple Stadium for 26 years. The county councillors were aware, but no interest, with links to St Mary's International Garden of Remembrance, the last resting place of the great man Tom Semple. Finnan Road, where he lived, Johnny Worth, chairman of the founder indeed of the Memorial Committee there, and we spoke to Johnny several times in the past, so maybe we could have a chat with him again over the next couple of days. Brendan says Jim Ryan perfectly right and correct in everything he said as regards the GAA in Thurles.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.